This is your host, Joel Walker. You're listening to the Imaginary Music Podcast, and I'm proud to say that I'm able to do this because I use the Anchor app. Anchor is the easiest and best way to host your own podcast, and the best news, it's free. I've used ones in the past, and they cost quite a bit of money, and they do the same service. So if you and your brother and everybody else who's starting a podcast these days want to download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started, I encourage you to do so. If it weren't without Anchor, I wouldn't be able to host this awesome podcast. Check them out.
All right, I have joining the show the creator, the person in charge, the everything really for Roxx Records. Bill Bafford is joining the show, and we're going to talk about the record label and also Bill's life. So, Bill, thank you for joining the show.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you for having me. We tried to schedule this a few times, but both our schedules got ahead of us, so it's nice to finally be able to sit down and talk with you for a while.
Yeah, it's great, and I've had a lot of artists that are tied into you that you've worked with, so to get you on and actually talk about some of those projects and future projects is going to be very cool and interesting.
Awesome. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, so let's kind of get
on right now.
Yeah, no problem. Let's get to know you a little bit and tell me when you got into music and what were some of the bands that you gravitated to, and were you instantly into Christian music, or when did that come along?
Well, I was originally 12, 13 years old, and one of my childhood friends, his name was Philip. He lived down the street, and I remember he called me over to his house one day, and he just got a new stereo and record player, and he had 3 vinyl records in there. One of them was Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz, the other one was a Def Leppard album, and the other one was actually a Van Halen album. And he put the first Van Halen on, which is 1984, and the second that thing hit and I started hearing that music, I was just hooked from there. So I started heavily into music right at that point forward, and it was a little difficult for me because I grew up in a household where my mom was very strict Christian. We went to church all the time, which is a good thing, but she was very adamant that I was not going to listen to that. So every time I would bring a record or a tape in the house, it would disappear. Until one day, a couple years later, when a friend invited me to a church called Faith Community in a city called West Covina, California, down here, and we went to see this concert, and it was Stryper in the pre-Yellow and Black Attack days, and man, that was what really got me hooked from there on forward. And I convinced my mom totally that they were metal, but they were Christian, so I was able to get into it more, and from there, that kind of led me to Sanctuary International from there, and I was under Pastor Bob Eamon. Kind of grew up late teens and 20s in Sanctuary International. So that's pretty much what sparked the seed for everything for me.
So you really got to grow up in that era, and actually you were there, so you got to participate in it too.
It was nice, yeah. That first Metal Mardi Gras is something that sticks in my head, and a lot of the Vengeance Rising shows, the early shows I was at, and those were instrumental for me because originally as a teen, I'd got into the Strypers and the Van Halens, and I still love all that stuff today, but when I heard Vengeance Rising for the first time, now all of a sudden I got into the heavy thrash and the heavier music, and Vengeance Rising and Deliverance were my 2 go-tos for a long time there.
Did you start making any kind of connections then with them, or try to just be friendly with those guys?
Surprisingly, not a lot. I didn't do a lot. I did a brief stint, and George and Eddie from Recon will tell you that I showed up to a couple practices for them, and I was going to roadie, and that kind of never got off the ground. We talked back then a lot with Roger Dale was a friend, so I talked to him quite a bit in the church days. Glenn Mancrush. There was a lot of people that I talked to back then, but there wasn't anyone that I really got close to for a while. And then I got life came along for a while, married, and my 4 daughters. And things I got out of the music for a while because I had to focus on work and school. And then we got back into the 2000s, and things started to kick in again for me in the early 2000s. into the music scene.
What kind of brought you to starting Roxx Records? And that's ROXX, if people are not clear of that. Roxx Records. And was it just wanting to get some of these bands back out there?
It actually started, and still is, roxxproductions.com was what started. I had went to the very first Stryper Expo in New Jersey in 2001, I think it was. Met some people, got back this way, and I really wanted to do a Stryper Expo on the West Coast. And I found out some people were already trying to work on that and getting it going. And I met a guy out there, it was 2002, Larry Bolin. He and I are still friends today. And he was instrumental in helping get that Expo 2 off the ground. And I came in and partnered with him, and we really pretty much organized that from the West Coast side of things for the guys out at Azusa Pacific University down here. So that really sparked Roxx Productions from there, because we were talking to bands. We had 2 stages that day, and I was seeing the need for more shows like that. And I actually started doing more promotions at the time, working with local bands, doing some festivals of our own after that. And then right after doing some shows, I'd hear from bands that say, hey, can you help us with our demo? Can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? And it kind of sparked Roxx Records from there. And then the productions ended up taking a sideline, and Roxx Records was born, and kind of God just took it off. I mean, I just couldn't stop. It just kept going ever since.
How was that experience with the West Coast Stryper Expo? How was that for you?
That was awesome. Stryper had been kind of apart at that time. They'd done the first expo. I don't think they'd done much in between up to the second expo, and I think they were still a little bit on hiatus for a while after that. But that second expo, we played the big arena there at Azusa Pacific, held 5,000 people. The place was jammed. We'd built a second stage outside. We had a skate park where we had people out there skateboarding. On the side stage outside, we had bands like Oil was a headliner that night on the side stage, and tons of bands. We had Disciple on the main stage, and East West, if you're familiar with those bands. And then there was tons of Stryper related stuff all throughout. Joshua was there also. Man, I can't even remember, but it was there. I think Bliss was there. For sure, Stryper, Sin Dizzy, Irene Kelly at the time. Tim Gaines' ex, they did some stuff together. Yeah. I used to go see her all the time. She's a great singer in her own right there. So, but yeah, anything Stryper related, this huge festival just celebrated the band and everything that they had done and accomplished in the day. So it was super exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah, I remember when those things popped up. I probably remember the East Coast one, how bad I wanted to go, because at that point I'd never seen Stryper. And I finally got to see him when they did the reunion at Cornerstone, I guess 2001, I think, or 2. And,
nice.
And that was awesome. So I was jealous I didn't get to go to either one of those expos, because I remember reading about them on the internet.
I also sparked a good friendship with Jenna Sweet at that time, so still talk to her today. We still work with her. We actually just got a bunch of hers and her husband Phil's new products in the store too.
Yeah, I actually just had her on. That episode's about to release.
Oh, nice. Yeah, she's a wonderful lady.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, had a lot of fun. We talked for it's going to be about an hour and a half episode, so we talked for a good while.
Cool.
So by the time people hear this, that episode's already been out. But yeah, I agree. What was kind of the first thing that you wanted to accomplish with the label? Was there a certain band that you wanted to target, or what did you have in mind?
Funny enough, the very first release we did was a band called Eternal Right. That was back in 2006. We started talking to the band, and I originally was focusing on stuff that I kind of knew and grew up with from the early Sanctuary days, from the late 80s into the early 90s, and just seeing that stuff still wasn't out there for people readily available anymore. And I wanted to make sure that, because I knew there was a lot of people like me out there that wanted to hear it still and would love to have stuff like that in their hands again. So we started speaking to the guys in Eternal Right, because I knew they were kind of local to me in this area in Southern California. And that turned into a double disc anthology. And then I saw what we did and the response we did with that one, and it just kicked in, just reissues and then starting to work with new bands. Had a lot of stuff with new bands. Right now we've got a ton of new bands, new music coming out this year, so it just kind of skyrocketed, and then stretched all over the gamut from reissues to new artists, and again, promotions kind of just took a sideline for the time being.
Do you still do the promotions that are the production stuff?
I haven't done one in years. Well, we had the COVID pandemic that hit us that couldn't do anything anyway. So, yeah, you heard about that one?
Yeah.
So the last few years has pretty much been focused just to the label. So,
if there was a production or a show you like to put together, what's like the dream show that you want to put together?
Funny enough, I've been tossing around that in my head a lot lately. I'd love to do one more festival type thing, but I'd bring in some bands that I love that I'm working with today, like Fear Not for sure. They've got a brand new album coming out. I love those guys, and trying to help get them more shows too. So they're active and wanting to get back in the scene and just putting out some great music.
Yeah.
I'd want to get a debut of Reign of Glory, the brand new signing we just did with Roger Dale, Martin Vengeance, and Nick Layton, as well as the return of Robin Kyle Basuri. That's going to be awesome.
What style are they going with that on that? Is that going to be kind of like the old Die Happy stuff, or is it a little bit different?
A little different. I think this is going to lean a little more in the hard rock to power metal vein. I think
I like that.
More along the Red Sea lines, I would say. And if you're not familiar with Nick, man, he's an amazing musician too. He's got Firewolf is his main band, and check them out. They're a heavy power metal band. So I'm picturing between Roger's Vengeance playing and Nick brought his drummer in from Firewolf for this one. So I think it's gonna be a heavier production on this one.
Yeah, I saw Roger post that the other day, and I'm really excited. I actually went to that Facebook page and liked their page, and I'm really excited about that. That's cool. Nice. So you're talking about we're talking about dream kind of productions, but going back to the label, what are some of the bands that you've released that those albums really mean a lot to you, or just re-releases or new releases? What are you really proud of that you've gotten to accomplish?
There's quite a few, but I would say for me, I was such a fan, I guess you could almost say fanboy of Vengeance Rising, and I'd wanted to do those for years and years, and it took actually finding Adele, who owns Frontline Records now, to be able to license and reissue all that music. And I'm really proud of all the stuff we've done with Vengeance Rising, and that was a key one for me. Doing some stuff with Deliverance has been great. I love Jimmy. He's got a bunch of new stuff going on. We've been able to work with him on a few releases in the past and some reissues too. So that thrash stuff from the early days has been really, really fun for me. But I actually love doing finding bands that maybe didn't even have an official record label back in the 80s and 90s, and really bringing back to life and telling the story of a lot of these bands that were out there, spreading the word of God and trying to help people with their music and their ministries. And we find those constantly, and it seems like the last few years we've really got into that a lot, where we found a lot. For example, we just released the band Chariot from Florida. That was an amazing reissue to be involved with. And right now we're working with Judea, Latter Rain. Mm-hmm. Right now in the pipelines, we're working with a band from the 80s called Antioch. From the late 90s to 2000s, a band called Slam Cat. From the 80s Bay Area metal scene, a band called Golgotha. So I love finding these bands and really giving them a second chance for people to hear the excellent music, and also expanded booklets. You gotta really do these up, man. You gotta tell the story of these bands and what they did to help the scene and the people that they ministered to back in those days. So I love doing those types of releases.
Yeah, I've had a couple of guys from Latter Rain on, and they've mentioned that there hopefully could be a couple more releases from the other stuff they've recorded, and it sounds like it's going to be even better than the original release, the demo stuff that you just released. So I don't know if you can kind of tell anything about that or not.
I actually have heard some of the music, so they are working on it. It does sound absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to get that out there. So it is coming soon. I'm hoping they get something before the end of the year, but it might be early 23. But it is definitely coming.
Yeah, and I know I posted a picture of the HM Old Heavens Metal ad where I can't remember, you probably remember the name of the band, and the guy, one of my buddies sent you that he had like a CD from them, and it was in rough shape. I cannot remember, because you were interested in that band too. So
I'm trying to remember.
I think they're out of South Carolina, North Carolina. They were. If you said the name, I'd remember. But it just, from what you said, I mean, that shows me that what you're trying to do, reach out to these guys and kind of give them a second chance. Because I don't think this band, even...
It wasn't Guardian Angel, was it?
No, it was a different band. If you said it, I remember it. Now I'm going totally blank. They all had like leather jackets on, and the picture is a black and white picture.
Oh my gosh! It'll come to us while we're going.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, man, I wish I had that in front of me to grab. But
there's so much good music coming out today. If you like thrash, Motivic, we put out their first album, which got a great response, and Ritual Servant has been amazing. Both of those bands have new music coming out. There's tons of stuff we're working on. Vulture's Gathering is going to be another good one, featuring Chaz from Biogenesis, and Ryan from Motivic. So that I'm looking forward to as well. That's coming later this year.
So that I love that right there, and it's gotten me excited about a lot of that old stuff. And I ordered the Latter Rain stuff, and then I'm gonna. Is it Judea? Is what you said? I want to get their stuff, and it's pretty exciting. Just because I remember hearing a lot about some of these bands, and I never heard them because you had to order the stuff through their. It's different back then. You had to mail order stuff. It was.
Yeah,
not easy.
The word of mouth.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
Old print magazine.
So you're making it easy. You're making the production. Do you remaster everything with the old material?
We do. My partners in the business actually are Rob from Bombworks Sound and Scott Waters from No Life Till Metal. The two of them and myself pretty much do all the releases, from remastering to art, graphic design, album cover design, and Scott does great layouts and Rob does great remasters. So it's been a great partnership thus far.
Now, what kind of music are you currently listening to? Do you get into? Do you have a lot of the Christian stuff and listen to a lot of just? I mean, sounds like you have to have quite a vast knowledge and library of older stuff, perhaps. But what is your collection like?
I'll have to send you a picture of this room that my wife yells at me about all the time. My main office is probably a Christian metal museum, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I kind of pictured. That's why I was asking.
I've probably got, and I'm sitting in the room right now looking around, and there's probably 10 to 15,000. So I haven't counted a lot. CDs. I've probably got at least 3,000 to 4,000 vinyl records. So it's and a lot of times I really kind of slowed down buying a lot of stuff for personal collection at times, but I'm just always buying things when I see something that's out of print or something that I think might make a good release, and you want to find it and track down the people involved. So I'm always buying that kind of stuff, even when I go to the swap meets and the record shows and stuff like that.
So I was gonna mention the band I was talking about, Smash Alley Underground.
Oh yes. And I actually did speak to them. So we'll see where that goes.
Okay, good. Because I was trying to message them on Facebook, and I never could get a response from them. I'm like, come on, guys. So that's cool. I'm glad you got a hold of them. But yeah, that's who I was thinking.
Sounds like they might have already been working on something themselves. So I'm sure that whether we do it or they do something themselves, I think they will have something out there, which is all I want to hear, is that music gets another resurgence.
Yeah, because they got some stuff on YouTube people can check out if they want to hear what they sound like. It's pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So with the label, what is kind of just the most difficult part of having your own label? What just stresses you out?
It's probably time, most of the time for me, because I've got so many things going on, so many projects, and we're an indie. We run small, lean. So trying to get things done is always probably the biggest challenge for me. And then trying to keep family time amongst all your work time. It's just hard to kind of balance work and life,
Yeah. How much time do you think you probably put in a week towards the label?
Honestly, probably 30-ish to 40 hours. And I'll tell you why, because I actually work full-time as a hospital administrator. So I'm doing double duty. So I work a lot after my stints at the hospital, and then during COVID, it was just it was surreal being in the hospital during a COVID time period. Let me tell you. So
I can imagine.
I was working a lot between the hospital and then coming home trying to do Roxx Records stuff, and then still trying to balance the family life, and it gets real challenging.
I'm sure the hospital part, as an administrator, really was stressful during those real high times, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. That's a whole other episode.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine the stress you're probably dealing with.
I had seen and done things I had never thought I would do in my life during that time period. So I'm glad we're kind of on the mend there and getting back to a little normalcy these days. So it's nice.
Are you going to any upcoming shows? You mentioned, and I was going to say this because I just saw today that Fear Not posted they're playing a 2-day festival. I think it's in Ohio.
And I can't. There's not a lot I can make it to this year, but when the band told me they were doing that festival, I am going to do everything to try and get to that one. That one just looks so great.
Yeah, that's a great lineup. I saw the original members of Barren Cross, White Cross. Obviously, it's not Scott Wenzel, but White Cross, Les Carlson, Fear Not. I know there's some other ones I saw in there, but I'm like, wow, that.
Nice to see Les is getting out there and doing some stuff, even though Michael's still he's getting better from what I understand, but he's still under the weather. So
it might be a while for him, and I know that's not the top priority with him, or with probably the family. They just want him to heal up and be better. But that looks like a really good show.
Actually, I'll tell you here first too. We're actually in the middle of working on, and we've been planning it for a while, but we're working on reissues right now of the 2 live albums on vinyl, remastered, and gold disc editions of the Live in America.
Oh, cool.
Album. So that'll be coming out probably end of the year or early 2023. I love the Blood Good Guys, and Les is just such an awesome guy.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you just kind of made me think about it, but everything that you put out, or most of the major stuff, does it also go to vinyl, where people can get it on vinyl too?
A lot of it, with the reissues and depending on the popularity, I mean, it will. A lot of the newer bands will start with CDs and the digital releases and see how well they do, and if they spark enough interest or we get enough sales, then we would lean towards doing a vinyl pressing. But the reissues most definitely do, for the most part.
Yeah.
It's just the newer artists, we kind of gauge them to see how they're doing.
You want to see if they're actually going to sell first. I understand that. Before
Ritual Servant did really well for us. So when they did their debut album, CD sold out. We ended up doing a second gold disc pressing and did a vinyl version, which also sold out already. So that's one that did really well for us.
Did you do the re-release of Love Life? Were you the one that did that one?
That was us.
Okay.
Another one that.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
I know.
That album is, so good. I know Larry kind of doesn't like the production, maybe because he produced it, but I think it sounds great. I think his voice is unbelievable all through that album. I know you guys put extra songs on it too that wasn't originally released with that album, but I was listening to that the other day, and I mean, there's not one bad song on that album. And people that are Fear Not fans from the original album that Larry sings on, I mean, would love the Love Life album. It's just a different guitarist, but it's just as amazing as.
I think that one's actually sold out now. I think I have a few vinyl copies left. CD is gone, I think.
Oh wow!
But yeah, that was an amazing one. I was already talking to the band about
that. I got it on vinyl and CD, so I got it on vinyl before I realized I could get it on CD. I was like, oh, there's a CD one I could get too. Well, I better get that, because I'm the only person in America that drives an older car because it's paid for, and I have a CD player in the car. So I'm like, I'll be listening to this in there for sure. So I'm glad I was able to. I'm glad you did that, because that's an album if anybody has the chance to grab, and you're a fan of that kind of genre or Fear Not, grab it, man. That's awesome. And
totally agree. And speaking of funny side story, since you mentioned the CD player, I was kind of looking at new cars a few years back before COVID and everything hit, but I told my wife, I said, if it doesn't have a CD player, I'm going to go on to the next car.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a new car with a CD player.
Yeah, it is. It is, because my wife's got a newer car and it has no. Well, yeah, it does have a CD player. I'm sorry, I was going to say my work vehicle is a newer vehicle and it doesn't have a CD player, which kills me because I'm in it all day driving around. I'm like, I wish I could listen to my music in here, because most of that stuff is not on streaming services, so you can't really listen.
I bet your car looks like mine. You open the doors and the side panels and the seat, and there's CDs all over.
Yeah, I actually broke out my old CD case, like the big one, and I was, I'm trying not to wreck my car while I'm driving down the interstate, trying to flip through CDs to grab one. And I'm like, I'm sure people are looking over me like, look at this moron, look, still got CDs in his car. Yeah, and I got my printed out GPS from back in the day.
No.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, though, is if you could reunite any Christian band, who would you like to see? It can be more than one, too, if there were one.
I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but I would love to see Roger come back to the faith and do something with the Vengeance guys one more time. That would be amazing.
Have you ever talked to Roger Martinez?
A long time ago, and I've reached out to him a couple times, and actually, more recently, in the last year and a half, couple emails, but through Adele mostly, because she still talks to him for the reissues and stuff when we do that stuff. So he's still out there. He's still he's doing okay.
Yeah,
from what I understand.
Jimmy Brown was on the episode and talked about him in quite detailed, length with very good, interesting stuff too. If people haven't listened to that episode with Jimmy Brown, it was good. How was he with the re-release? Was he cool with it?
I don't know if I should really speak to it because I'm not entirely sure. But what I've heard from others closer to him are that he didn't really want the stuff to come back out. So fortunately for me and the fans, it's still owned and licensed by Frontline Records. So I mean, it's officially licensed when we do those reissues. And I know that the band all gets their cut on the licensing of those music. So they're legitimate, officially licensed. But I don't think he was 100% into having those be made available.
Yeah, people know. I'm sure if people know his story, you could understand why he wouldn't. If you don't agree with the message that you want said, I guess why would you want it out there? But I know people are probably pretty happy that you did do that. And since we're kind of talking about that with a little issue like that, have you found, or has there been artists that you found really want nothing to do with their old bands? And I'm sure Roger's a prime guy there, but I think I messaged you about the band Ransom and the singer Lisa, and I think maybe you had, I don't know if you got a hold of her.
That was the one that comes to mind for sure. I actually never really spoke to her. I've sent her emails, and I know she's still out there. I know where she's at and how to kind of get to her through email, and I know that a couple other people that have access to her, but she just doesn't want. From what I understand, the reissues and all that, not a problem. She didn't really care. She just does kind of put that piece of her life to rest, from what I understand.
It's kind of a shame for the fans, because I know a lot of people have asked me, requested, hey, I'd love to hear an interview with her, and I would love to do an interview with her, and I went every avenue I could go to try to get a hold of her, and I didn't have any success. So I kind of just gave up on that venture, and then I asked you about it. You told me that, and I'm like, well, I don't want to, I don't want to bother her with something she doesn't want anything to do with. I wish I could talk to her. I wish she would talk, because I really enjoyed their music too, and I'm glad you put out the first album. I just repurchased. I had it on cassette tape back in the day, so I got it on CD finally. And I know you worked with them, but are there any other bands that come to mind that just kind of don't want anything to do with the old stuff?
Off the top of my head, I'm just thinking, I know it happens all the time when I'll find a band and we'll reach out to them, and they just don't respond, or they'll respond saying not interested. And there's been quite a few times through the years, but honestly, for some reason, Ransom and Vengeance are the top two that just come to mind right now.
Yeah. I'm sure that's got to be disappointing for you too, because you're really hopeful and you want to do something, and it helps the band. I mean, it's not like it's going to harm them anyway. So, I mean, I don't understand the mentality of why you wouldn't want to do that as a former band member, just from my perspective, but maybe they just didn't enjoy those days, or they just really have distanced themselves so much away from that lifestyle. I don't know.
Yeah, then you get others that really get into it. I mean, two artists I got to mention really fast is Todd Stevens and Dale Thompson in their own regard. And now they just put out the brand new album together called The Reconciled, which is awesome, and it's just coming out right now. But Todd from XL and DVD, we just did the reissue of Sodom in America, and he came out and did 2 brand new tracks that we had as bonus tracks that fit that thing so well, and like he didn't skip a beat. And he's done quite a few other albums with us also. He's pretty active in the scene and loves what he did and loves to be a part of it and continues to make music. And Dale Thompson, man, we put out probably
who hasn't he sang with
10 to 12 albums of his in the last couple of years with different artists. I mean, We Are Resolute, it's an amazing band. The Reconciled, he just finished up. Iron 501. He's all over the place, man. His vocals are great. And I actually had him, and Sovereign Cross is another great album that we put out, featured Dale on it as well. And I hired that band, Sovereign Cross, who are actually making me a cover version of the song To Hell with the Devil for a special release coming out later this year.
Are you going to work with Bride at all? Are you going to release their new stuff, or are they doing with that someone else? Or
Dale's got a good relationship with Matt over at Retroactive Records. It's another great label, does similar to what we do, and so he's been working pretty much exclusively with Matt on the Bride stuff, and then a lot of the other stuff has been coming my way. So I've been working with on all his side projects mostly.
Yeah, you mentioned Todd Stevens XL. I had him on one of my earlier episodes, and if once again, I have to pub my show. If you haven't heard that episode, because it is kind of one of the lower listened to episodes, it's a really good one because he's so open and he's like so honest with everything that we discussed. It was a really good episode. And
I love Todd. He's a great guy. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that one.
Yeah, it was good. It was very open, and we text and message back and forth since then. So he's kept me up to date with music and stuff, and I know for a fact that the stuff, well, the new XL stuff or the reissue stuff is awesome, but the project with Dale Thompson, I'm like, I'm not trying to badmouth in any way here, but I said this is kind of better than some of the recent Bride stuff, to be honest with you. You're a really good songwriter. Todd is a very good songwriter. He's a really good singer too, in his own right. Yep. And his music that he's written and Dale's performing is really good.
It is excellent. You talked about what was I listening to recently. I mean, we're about to ship all the pre-orders next week. You're going to start seeing them hit people's mailboxes of Judea, Iron 501, The Reconciled, and We Are Resolute. And The Reconciled and We Are Resolute have just been constant rotation in my car the last week.
That's awesome. Well, if my wife allows it, the master of the house, once we get our tax returns, I might be spending my money on some albums at your website. So I'll definitely be getting some stuff. I know when payday hits, I'm like, let me get something here and there. It's always nice and exciting to get that new music in the mail. And,
appreciate that.
And you're good about getting stuff out too, so you're not waiting super long. I know sometimes it could be the mail, USPS fault, but I've never had any issues. People can feel safe ordering all your material, everything you got going on, and getting it in a timely manner.
Thank you. I'll mention one other project real fast. We're going to do some of our. We've only done one 7-inch record in the past, and it came out a few years ago. It was with a thrash band called Join the Dead, which featured Mike Phillips from Deliverance. But we got a project with Ritual Servant. We're just about to put up for pre-orders, but we're going to do a very unique thing here. We're going to put out 4 7-inch records, 2 songs on each one. At the end of the 7-inch series, we're going to put out their whole new album with those 8 songs and another track or 2 on there on a full vinyl release and a CD release. And then also a band called After Winter. We're doing a 7-inch with them too. So we're going to see how well people, what kind of reception we get for doing some 7-inch records this year.
Yeah, that's pretty
and
cool.
After Winter is another great power metal band. It features the lineup of Biogenesis with Chaz from the Black Widow era, and Decadence Divine. So they Chaz went on to do Bio with some other folks, but the core band of that original lineup is now formed after Winter, and man, that's going to be some great power metal coming out this year.
So it's going to be like 2 different songs on each 7-inch, and there's like okay, so kind of could be like a collector's item for those people, for
Yeah, definitely. We're only going to do 200 of each 7-inch. So that's the Ritual Servant one we're doing that with. After Winter, we're just kind of putting out 1 7-inch teaser to tease a new album, which we're hoping to get out by end of the year. But the Ritual Servant, we're going to do 4 separate 7-inches.
So how many projects do you probably put out during a typical year, would you say?
This year, we're probably going to break records, actually. I think we'll probably do close to 100 releases this year.
Wow. So for you as an individual running this company, is it successful for you, or are you breaking even? Are you just doing it for the joy of it? I mean, how does it affect you and your lifestyle?
Very good question. So that the financing, the business on the side is all funded through the projects that we do. So we don't use our own personal money. It's a whole separate account. It's a whole business in its own. So when people buy those records and CDs and support us, all that money goes right back into the next projects.
Because
we make very little money. I mean,
I was going to say, because
truly a labor of love.
Yeah, all the stuff you're doing, it costs quite a bit of money, and I don't think you're becoming a rich person off of this, but you're doing it. I'm sure it's a business, obviously, but also for the love of the music, and you're doing a very big service for a lot of people out there like me and others that never had the opportunity or never got these bands and want to hear them again, or even the new stuff you're putting out there. So with the label, is it just you, or do you have anybody else that works for you or helps you?
Scott Waters is actually my partner in this. We do No Life Till Metal with him too, and he does all our graphics, but he's also a big partner. And the rest of it's all pretty much done within the family. The wife and kids help me sometimes, myself, and then we do all of our music remastering through Rob and his people. And then every once in a while, I might have to bring in someone in kind of a temp status or something to help me do some projects. So we keep it pretty much in the house and in the family.
What has been the biggest seller that you've had?
Reissues tend to do better than a lot of the mainstream or newer artists at the beginning. The Vengeance stuff sells out all the time. I'm on probably the 4th pressing on most of that stuff now. Probably going to stop on that for a while. We just did Applehead. That one's doing really well right now. Are you familiar with Applehead? Greg Minier from The Crucified. And we're going to have some conversations with him to work on some more stuff. Deliverance stuff sells really well, and the Fear Not stuff, the reissues have been doing really well, and the Love Life one. So the reissues and the reissue vinyl seems to do really well.
When's Fear Not? Are they putting out a full album sometime soon, or they have more material coming out too? I know they got the new lead singer, obviously, but so people interested in that, me being one. But what's going on with their recording stuff, or any updates?
I just heard a new song yesterday, and it sounded amazing. These guys have got it good, and one of the complaints was, "Oh, Larry's not singing on it. I don't want to hear it." I get that one from a lot of people, but this album, actually, Larry's got his vocals in it some more, so you'll actually hear Larry. And we did a solo album with Larry last year too, where you want to hear Larry's vocals. He did an amazing worship album with us last year.
Okay, is that still available?
It is, yeah. It's online in the store. It's a Larry Worley.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he mentioned that when I had him on the show, because I remember being aware of it. But Larry, and I've said this multiple times on episodes, people are probably sick of hearing this, but I loved Larry's voice. He has a unique voice for that style of music, almost a Mark Slaughter style vocals.
Oh, yeah, that's a good comparison, yeah.
And everything he's saying, just a love love the songs, everything back in the day. So I think that's why a lot of people are upset and miss it. And I know, he says he has issues, singing for long periods, and maybe we'll get something out there. And nothing against the new singer, and I've always said that because he's awesome too. And
he's really good.
But it's just when you're used to one thing and you love it, it's hard to accept something different and new.
Yeah. They did do the EP 2 years ago. We put out For the Wounded Heart, which was a 4-song CD EP. It's another great kind of a kickstart to getting them back into the studio to do this whole new album, which you can hear the song Struggle actually on our YouTube channel, which will come on the new album shortly.
Yeah, and you put a lot of stuff out on YouTube too. Do you have a YouTube channel that you do that through?
We do. We got the Roxx Records YouTube. There's tons of stuff on there.
Okay. And just kind of closing out, tell me the difference on or really if there is a difference between Roxx Records, then you got No Life Till Metal, and then Christian Metal Distro. What is there really a difference, or what if there are? What is the difference?
There is, and that's a good question. I get asked that quite a bit. So Roxx Records is purely our own label and our own releases. It could be a reissue, it could be a new artist, and anything that's in the Christian category, or if it's a positive sounding album, we would use that label. No Life Till Metal Records is really Scott Waters' baby, but that's where we would put things that are not Christian, or we might do some reissues from. We've done some reissues with Banshee and some other 80s and 90s bands that definitely wouldn't appeal to the people that are strictly in the Christian market. So we kind of separate them that way. Christian Metal Distro is where we distribute everybody else's releases, and I get solicited every week from bands that are saying, hey, we just put out our indie label, and we just have a kind of a portal for everybody to get their indie releases into, and we kind of have one area there for everyone to go in and buy any indie release that we get our hands on and put it in that store.
Okay. Well, that explains that. I was going to kind of go back before I close it out. I was going to ask, did you have any good stories from back in the day when you were young and got to see, like you said, saw Stryper back in the day and all these other bands? Do you have any stories that stick out? A good one?
Well, one that kind of hit me kind of recently, not really a funny story, but just something that's been stuck in my head the last few days, is that early Stryper show where they used to have these big flashing signs on the stage of the Stryper logo. I mean, they were 10 feet long, and they had this round circle lighted sign that had the devil sign, the devil crossed out.
Yeah, I remember those.
And and I always wanted those. And recently, if you're online, watch Anthony Gober, who's a friend and also runs ChristianBandShirts.com. He owns that sign now.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the post.
He's been trying to sell it for years to just in his garage, and he wanted to get somewhere where it would hang up and maybe get some use out of it before. And I think he's moving pretty soon. But I was telling my wife, I showed her, I was like, maybe I ought to purchase this for my Stryper collection, because I probably have one of the biggest Stryper collections around. But I don't have anything that big, and I just don't have the room. It would take half the room.
Yeah. Well, are you going to purchase it, or did you?
No.
Oh my gosh! I thought you were going to tell me you purchased it.
No.
I saw that post. I can't afford it.
I'd probably have to move out with the sign.
Yeah. I don't know. Can I put this on the front porch? I'll have to ask my wife. Let the neighbors know. I gotta let the neighbors and the other neighbors down the street know that I'm a Stryper fan. Yeah, I saw that. That's really cool. And anything that you want to plug, or anything going on you want to put out, you want to let people know where they can reach you, just go ahead.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate everything you do, and all the radio stations out there that help spread the word, because not a lot of mainstream record stations and radio airplay that help us like you, and the other stations like you online. So we really appreciate everything you do too.
No problem.
Our latest batch of releases coming is shipping, like I said, this week. So watch out for the new Judea, the Reconciled, We Are Resolute, and for the brand new reissue on vinyl and gold disc of Sodom and America from XL and DVD. Our next round, like I said, is going to feature Golgotha, Lambcat, and the Moshketeers on vinyl. You familiar with the Moshketeers?
No, I'm not.
total great thrash band from New Mexico, in the vein of like an Ultimatum, classic sound. But we did their CD reissue a long time ago, and they did really well. So we're going to do a very, very limited run, which is going to come out in May and start shipping in May. It's only going to be 85 copies. So kind of saying that here first. Haven't really told that to anybody yet. But
jump on it then.
Yep.
And people can go to, is it roxxrecords.com?
Yep, roxxrecords.com for the store, or roxxproductions.com will get you to our news site.
And also that has the links to No Life Till Metal and Christian Metal Distro. So if people want to find out, they can also go to the main website and link to those. And a question I like to ask most of my guests, I haven't asked everyone, so it's a hypothetical question. If you could see any band from any lineup, any period, any time, who do you want to go back and see?
You know, for me, I would say it would have to be Holy Soldier. I forgot to mention them through this course of this interview, but we've done a lot with Holy Soldier, and a lot of their stuff has been very well received. Vinyl of the Self-Titled and Last Train CDs, and talking to Andy about doing a repress, because those stuff's all been sold out for a while. But I would love to see a Holy Soldier reunion one more time. We did, I think it was the last time they played with Stephen Patrick, and when we did an Up From the Ashes show, but that's been like 12, 13 years ago.
Who was in that lineup? Do you remember? Was it most the original band, or?
It was. The Up From the Ashes was actually Stephen Patrick. He actually had shot a video that night for La Dreama Cantina. I have the song here somewhere. He was working on a solo album that I don't think ever came to fruition at the time. We gave him some time to do a video shoot there at the venue before we did the Holy Soldier concert. So yeah, it was all the lineup. It was Terry, Michael, Andy, and Stephen Patrick. Got all four of them. It was awesome, and I would love to see that one more time. But maybe even add in all the vocalists. Just do a special Holy Soldier memorial type show. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I've tried to reach out to Eric, but I've not had success getting him to respond. I don't know if you've had any.
I have not. I've not spoke to him. I speak to Andy. I speak to Michael and Terry both, all of them, but haven't talked much to Patrick, Stephen Patrick, but I have through the years. But it's been a while.
Yeah.
Also, but I've never talked to Eric. And the other one would be Wasp, man. I'm excited to see Wasp. We got tickets to see them here in LA. I've always wanted to see them, and when Golgotha came out, I just fell in love with them more and never had a chance to see that whole thing live. So they're doing a 40th anniversary tour. That'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see that one too. And with Blackie being a Christian now, I'm interested how those shows go. I don't know. I've heard he might bring back some old stuff he said he would never do again.
Yeah, I'm interested too. I mean, stuff like that, it doesn't offend me, but I mean, I hope he does the Golgotha stuff though, because I really love that album.
Did you see the documentary that his old guitarist put out, the Mean Man? Chris?
You know what?
Was it Chris? I can't remember.
I have not. I've heard about it. Chris Holmes. Yeah, I've heard about it, but I have not seen it yet. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I actually watched it for the second time this last weekend. It's really interesting. It's really good. It's on Amazon Prime. Like, if you have Amazon, it's free on there, so you can watch it.
Oh man, thanks for telling me. I'll check that one out.
Yeah, it's really good. I'd highly suggest that, even just as a music fan, to check out. He lives over in Europe now, and it kind of follows him with a little bit of touring with his solo band that he has, and his relationship with his wife, and of course they talk about Wasp and some stuff.
I think he's been sick recently too.
Has he?
Yeah. I saw some social media posts from him that he was, from his wife, I think it was, saying he was a little ill. I think he's doing better now though.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, but I actually heard an interview with Blackie Lawless not too long ago where it was so good. I'm like, man, I feel like it motivated me to want to be a better Christian. It was that good. It was very
I've heard
uplifting.
a couple of his interviews too. It's very, he's really right on these days.
He's very intelligent. So yeah, Holy Soldier and Wasp. There you go. Anything that you want to say to people out there, just in closing? I'll let you have the last word.
Off the cuff here, just keep supporting those bands. I mean, again, I love doing the reissues, but if you want to keep hearing new music from a lot of these Christian rock and metal artists that we love and grew up with and can help support, either through Roxx or even directly through the artists. They all get copies of their releases too. So whatever you can do to help keep this scene alive. It's a very small scene that everyone listening to this podcast and to these bands that we grew up with and love. It is a very small scene. So just do whatever you can to help keep it going. And we know it sends a positive message, and we love to be able to keep doing it. So thank you for all your support.